In almost every rural town in America, there's a place that people still love. Take a moment and imagine that place with me. It might be a main street, it could be a courthouse square. There are a few blocks where cafes and shops occupy the ground floors of human-scale buildings with apartments or offices above. It's a place where you can still run into someone you know without planning on it. And here's the interesting thing about this place. It was probably built before anyone owned a car. It was built before there was zoning. In my work as a city planner, working with a leading national urban planning firm, I help Western communities think about how to address the future, how to stay financially stable, how to add housing, how to grow, and how to be resilient to changes that may be unforeseen, and how to be sustainable. But I've noticed something strange. In every community in which I've worked, the parts of the town that still work are treated like an exception. The parts that struggle, the highway strips, the low-density subdivisions, the single-use zoning, they're treated like the model. Today, I want to suggest something to you that is a little counterintuitive, but hopeful. The future of rural communities isn't something that we need to invent. It's something that we need to remember. So let me tell you about a place called River Bend. We'll just call it River Bend. This is a small city, population about 6,000 people. Its historic downtown was built before current zoning. It was built before traffic engineering, and it was built before we separated places to live from the places we work. On just a few blocks, River Bend has shops, offices, apartments, and civic buildings, and then detached single-family homes within short walking distance of the core. And this part of the city, this part of the town, generates more property tax per acre than any other part of the community. On the edge of town, River Bend has a newer development, larger lots, wider roads, single-use zoning. It looks modern, but it costs more to maintain. It produces less revenue. And it struggles to adapt when the needs of the community change. When demographics and family size change, when the national or regional housing market slumps, when a major local employer leaves or shuts down, or a new employer moves in, or with global influences beyond the town's control cause upheaval. River Bend didn't fail to modernize. It forgot to copy its most successful experiment. At this point, someone usually says, "That sounds nice, but we can't go back." I agree. This isn't about nostalgia. I'm not arguing to return to gas lamps or to go back to the 1890s. Historical thinking isn't about going backward. It's about understanding what has already survived stress. The stress of major economic downturns, of employers opening or leaving, the stress of hard winters, of wildfire, of drought, of floods, the stress of demographic change, and the disruptions that come with new technology. History isn't sentiment, it's evidence. The places that lasted did so because they were flexible. They were built incrementally, and they were built at a human scale. We often call the design of these towns traditional, but that shouldn't be confused with the claim that the arrangement reflects traditional ideologies. In fact, the motivations behind these developments was practical. Before cheap fuel, before massive infrastructure systems, communities had to build closer. They had to reuse buildings. They had to mix uses, and they grew gradually. A house could become a shop could become an apartment. A building could outlive its original purpose. That adaptability is resilience. And it turns out it's also fiscally sustainable. This is where historical thinking becomes the hero. Resilience isn't invented, it's tested. When rural communities face housing shortages today, they're often told that they have two options: either build large subdivisions or don't build. For economic development, they're told they must allow whatever box store or chain that wants to move in, that they'll be left behind if they don't, and that they should foot the bill for it through property tax abatements or through providing infrastructure. Development outside of the town's core requires new infrastructure, and low-density development requires more pipe, more pavement, and more wire to connect the people who live there than does higher density development near the town's core. It also has higher long-term maintenance costs. Police and fire must cover areas that are much larger. Impact fees can offset some of these upfront costs, but the model cannot be sustained. Property taxes and utility rates begin to rise incrementally. People have to drive to get to basic needs, to go to school, to buy groceries, to get to work, to access health care. Living without a car is nearly impossible. But Riverbend's historic area shows us an alternative. Small buildings, new houses built to complement existing neighborhoods in vacant lots, apartments over shops, duplexes and fourplexes that fit into the fabric of the community. A higher population closer to the businesses means a built-in customer base for those businesses. Closer proximity makes walking and biking feasible. People walking means more interactions and more people on the street, more people watching out for each other, watching out for each other's kids, watching out for each other's property. The community is more connected, it's healthier, and it's safer. This arrangement of land uses isn't attractive because it's trendy. It's attractive because it works. Town patterns like this add housing without massive new infrastructure, they support local businesses, and they strengthen community life. At the same time, they also support residents of all income levels and at all stages of life. Folks who don't have a down payment for a house or don't need a 4-bed, 3-bath, 3,000 square foot house. They allow younger people to get a start and older people to age in community near their friends, near their family, and near their neighbors. So why does this matter now? Rural communities are being asked to do more with less. Less funding, less staff, and less room for error. In that context, copying the most expensive and least adaptable form of development that we have ever built doesn't make sense. The hopeful news is this: rural America already knows how to build places that last. We just stopped allowing ourselves to do it. When communities plan for the future, they're often told that they have to be innovative. Sometimes the most innovative thing that we can do is to pay attention. Pay attention to the places that work. Pay attention to the buildings that have adapted for generations. Pay attention to the fact that resilience was once ordinary. If we want to build a sustainable future for rural communities, we don't need to invent it. We need to remember it, and we need to give ourselves permission to build it again.